Hello everybody, and welcome to another week in review here on my channel. This is week 27. I actually checked this time, so I'm no. And so yeah, before we get into what I did this week, I want to quickly go over my poses, as I usually do. And as usual, I have nothing really to say. Although I have fixed my sleeping schedule recently, so I've been more awake as I've been doing these. And usually what I find when I'm more awake, I'm able to, you can just be more attentive with this stuff. I can't tell if it's placebo or if it's just, I'm looking for something to say, doing this week after week, and never having anything to say, but I feel like I'm more, I've been a little more present this week. I don't know if that means that I'm doing a better job or not, but at least I'm able to pay more attention, sort of thing. I like this one. The other thing I've noticed about these is that I still really struggle with stuff like foreshortening, particularly things like, not necessarily this one, but when there's like a slow gradual lean back from like an angle that doesn't really show the full thing. We'll get to one where I can better, or I'll better explain what I'm talking about with that one, but see if I can explain what I mean. Kind of like how this one is sort of leaning back here. If you're looking at it from like a shallow angle, like say from down here looking up, it's really hard for me to get that sort of, it's not really foreshortening, but I guess it sort of is. Here, I'll just go jump to the one I'm talking about, this one here. So this is from today, how there's like the body is leaning forward here, and it's slowly like vanishing over this hill that the shoulders create. I find that sort of thing really difficult lately. Like basically sizing this shape as it leans away, I find it really tough. So let's see if there's any other examples in here of that. Because I don't know why it hit me this week that particular thing I suck at, but I'm not really seeing a lot of it. But like this sort of thing, how this is kind of like heading away. There's like a point where you have to draw this line, and you can't see beyond that. That's always the hard thing for me to find. I don't know if I'm explaining this all very well, because it's all kind of fresh in my mind. But also stuff like this, like this foreshortening stuff. I think that's probably the hardest thing for me, aside from just drawing heads. I always struggle drawing heads. But like the point at which like the top of things will disappear, or where you no longer see the curve of the body, you see that outer edge. It's hard for me to find where that is when there's like the body is leaning back, and keeping that kind of in concert with almost like cross contour lines, like you can imagine like this sort of thing. Keeping the shape of the body as it kind of folds away like that, like this sort of thing, right? I think this is the one I actually noticed it on. It feels really stubby and kind of stumpy, because it doesn't have the lean. It's hard for me to get that lean. And I think part of it is because I don't know really how to get that final edge. And also because, I don't know, I might just not be drawing enough cross contour lines. This sort of thing is really tough for me. That's like the big thing that I realized this week. Aside from that, I don't know. Looks fine. Like some of these are pretty good. I think this one's good. I'm still really struggling with the legs. I'm kind of figuring it out a little better with like the calf muscles. But the big thing for me is how the legs emerge at the bottom of the pelvis, like where they come out. Because there's like the what are these called? The gluteus muscles or whatever. And then the legs seem to like emerge from like almost like a cone. Kind of like this shape. Like they don't come straight out like this, They're kind of more like this, emerging out or something. Not just like straight up like this. And that sort of thing is confusing me too. So when I get some of these low angle ones like this one, like where did these legs emerge from? The bottom of the pelvis. So I'm planning on practicing legs, and like stuff like this is really hard for me to do too. Because of that, I'm planning on planning on practicing. I'm planning on practicing legs sooner or later. Probably within a week or two, maybe 2 weeks from now. Like this sort of thing, right? Where does this muscle end and like the leg begin, you know? It's a very specific issue. Aside from that, the only other really kind of confusing thing is armpits. Particularly stuff like this. Like this outer edge of the torso. Like when does that kind of fade away and blend kind of into the armpit and into the arm, you know? Little things like that that don't really matter are kind of a little difficult, I would say. Anyway, that's it for my poses. Let's look at what else I did this week, hey? Da-dum! So I did another one-handed challenge. This one was hands this time. The red numbers are drawn from reference, and the blue ones are all from imagination. Usually what I did with the imagination is I quickly thought of like a pose. Like I would just model it with my hand really quick, and then I just put my hand down and try and draw it, you know? So it's not exactly from imagination. I got like a quick look. I started doing that I think on day 3 though. So these were more or less just me imagining things. But I eventually ran out of pose ideas. Like if we go on the next day here, I eventually ran out of ideas for like what to do. And so I would quickly like give myself an idea by doing something with my hand and then drawing it in. But the thing I was focusing on this week is mostly the knuckles. The knuckles and like the shape, this kind of shape, this cone almost, that the hand itself kind of makes, this sort of shape. And how that kind of, it goes from this shape into the knuckles, into the fingers, you know? I was trying to think of that mainly. And I think I got a good understanding that, at least a better understanding of how kind of the hands work. You know, certain angles are, like stuff on the inside, I find drawing this side of the hand, the back side, much easier because of all these like folds and stuff, you know, can be really difficult. I think this one's pretty cool. Like the way I did these like cross contours and stuff, you could feel like the meatiness of this thumb chunk. I don't know what you call that. But this was pretty fun. I'm really enjoying this 100 challenge stuff. So I'd like to do more. Like I said, I'll probably do legs with this, leg practice, you know, and then do this sort of a thing. And then this is the last day here. Get the handshake for 100. So yeah, this was pretty fun. I still don't really feel like for example, this one here. The biggest thing for me with hands is keeping the fingers kind of consistent together in like a pose. Like, because they all sort of should be doing something together, like acting together, unless you're like doing something with 2 fingers or something, you know, but it's hard for me to make sure that the fingers are all kind of doing a similar thing at least. Like they're kind of going off all over the place here, right? I think this was my hand on the keyboard pose, so it kind of makes sense that they'd be a little like that, but when it comes to actually drawing hands, that's something that's difficult. And it goes back to my poses, how I don't really look at the full picture. I usually just focus on the part of the body that I'm doing at the time. I think I'm doing the same thing with hands. So with the fingers, for example, like if I go back to day 1 here, you know, like if I don't have a good idea of the pose, I'm just kind of winging it. Like these fingers look kind of like random, right? They don't really look like they're working in concert as much. Some of them do. It's like hit or miss, like this one, you know? This looks like another keyboard hand. But they don't feel like they're part of the same hand. I don't know. Either way, I'm pretty happy with this. It was pretty fun. So there's my hands. How long did it take to draw each hand? It was about 5 to 10 minutes, I think. Something like that. It was about 2.5 or 3 hours each session. I did 25 a day. So that's how That's how I did that. Next is, I did, you can see my hand practice paying off here, hey? This was I redid one of my earlier drawings. Actually, here, let me pull that up really quick. I should have included it as well. This one. This was from March 27th of this year. Really like messy and rough, eh? One of my first rough sketches that I did on this channel. I thought I would revisit it and kind of redo it from a more interesting angle. So this was day one working on that. I used a lot of reference for this one, like for the, I think this turned out really good, like the collar. But for stuff like the hair, man, the hair gave me a lot of trouble. I tried to do it blind. I did like the hands blind and everything. So it was a lot of fun though, and I used a different brush. Like you could see there's no real like line weight distinction here. I used this brush here. So I kind of like that look. And then I colored that on this day too. I didn't really like how it turned out though, so I changed a few things for the final day, but and I think I overdid it with the effects. I was just kind of playing around. I did a little too much, I think, in terms of like lighting and stuff, but it was fun all in all. The hair really gave me trouble, like I said though. I was trying to think in like parts and like layers. I'm still really bad at hair. I need to really do a deep dive on it, but this doesn't look too bad. It's mostly the edges that give me trouble. This sort of thing, you know? This stuff and like the bangs. I feel like I can't escape just doing like fangs, you know, when it comes to hair. So I need to like give myself some dedicated practice on hairs, I think. On hairs. But the thing I like the best about this is the hand, right? You can see it better on this one, I think. The color kind of gets in the way, I think, but you know, my hand practice really paying off, I think. And this one is a little rough, but I fixed it up here. It's kind of weird, but it's alright. You know? Hands are fun. I'm learning to enjoy them, so there you go. That's my week in review. Nothing really too special for that. So yeah, thanks for watching there, and I'll be back next week with another week in review.